Over the last few months, we've seen a growing level of unease and also some mental health issues rear their ugly head. And I've thought it would be important that we speak to a counsellor, someone who understood what was going on, had a plan or a series of coping exercises perhaps that we might be able to take on board. Her name is Jenny Wright. Jenny, welcome to The Informer. You're coming to us via Zoom from sunny Aspendale. You must be in God's country there.
Absolutely stunning. I'm very, very spoilt to be here, actually. Thank you.
Now, you touched on spoilt. One of the things that we're all feeling, especially in Victoria, is that we're not very spoilt at the moment. We're under a bit of pressure that we're not accustomed to. We're currently in lockdown, as you know very well, and more people are feeling a growing sense of anxiety, a listlessness, almost a hopelessness. Now, what are the sorts of health issues that you have been seeing sort of grow out of this crisis, especially in the older generations?
Yeah. Well, you know, I do work with older, over 65s, if you like to put them into a group, but certainly older Australians. And up until the pandemic, the biggest issue was loss and grief, you know, loss of their youth, loss of their energy, loss of their family home maybe, loss of their neighbourhood, all sorts of losses. And all of a sudden, those things are not as important now. It really is, as you say, anxiety. And anxiety comes from that feeling that you have no idea what's going to happen tomorrow. And so, unfortunately, part of the reason that it's so bad in the older generation is they're either alone in their room at an aged care facility or they're still at home alone. Or even in a retirement village alone, and family can't visit, they're not allowed to. And whenever someone's alone and can't share what they're worried about, that's when anxiety starts to raise its head, because you listen to the news and you read the papers and you get the sense that something terrible is happening, but you don't know what. And you can't do anything about it and you can't talk to anyone about it.
You know, some of those things that you touched on are the sorts of things that I reflect when I talk to Mum. Mum's in Sydney. She will not leave home. We lost Dad 3 or 4 years ago now. And I get a sense that this loneliness, and she has people around her. My daughter goes down and sees her. My brother visits. And there are others who also, from the family, reach out. But it's not the same. There'd be many hours where she is there entertaining herself with her own thoughts, and I see her turn the television on, and it's almost that she not retreats into another world, but seeks escape. Now, we can't do that at the moment, can we?
No.
We can't even do that.
You see, for a lot, well, you can't do that, no. I mean, and the thing is, many older people used to have a system that they had that helped them through, especially people like your mother, that they would go shopping on such and such a day, or they would go and meet and have cups of tea with somebody, or they would go and play bingo, or they would
go to the hairdresser.
All these sort of,
or go to the hairdresser.
Go to the hairdresser, exactly. Or even go to visit the doctor, even if it was just for a checkup, but it was nice company to do so. And all of that has had to stop, which is, you know, it really exacerbated this sense of anxiety, and there's no, they can't see anything getting any better. And then what happens if we're not very careful is they start to say to themselves, you know, I've had a pretty good run. You know, it really probably wouldn't matter now if I went. Oh, yes, that happens an awful lot.
So how do we break the nexus? How do we reach out and try and address some of their needs?
Well, of course, obviously, I'm going to say you need to put them in touch with a counsellor, because we do that whole talking thing. And one of the things I find the most successful with older Australians is to just ask them to tell me about their life. Now, I'm an impartial listener, but I'm an open, empathetic compassionate listener, and I love their stories anyway. And the very fact that somebody is going to listen while they tell you all about their life, it takes them away from that sense that there is no future and rebuilds on their love of life.
We're talking to Jenny Wright, who's a counsellor, and trying to get to the very nub of what the biggest problem is at the moment with our older community, and why they're, what we can do to help them through this pandemic. Jenny, you said that getting a counsellor or reaching out to a counsellor is key. That's all well and good, and I heartily concur. Great idea, because you guys not only are pro people, you actually love to listen to the stories, which is just fabulous. My mother could talk to you for probably 3 or 4 weeks. And if my father was still alive, it'd be 3 or 4 years, and I'd have to come to your assistance. But how do we help our older community who aren't that tech savvy during a pandemic when you really need to have somebody assist you?
Yes, well, you do. And this is where I call on families. For example, if you have got a family member in aged care, then the family outside needs to coordinate with the aged care facility to set up 4 staff to bring around a laptop and set up a Skype call. And they will do it if they're requested. They need to be doing that anyway to talk to their family, because it's partly hearing the voice helps, but seeing each other is a really key. It's key for people to see their parents in an aged care and see how they're looking and how they're sounding. And I think it's really up to families to drive that. And if you've got a family member who's home alone, then you really also need to go and work with them to teach them how to use it. It's that interaction that really is the key to keeping the anxiety levels sort of under control, if you like.
Can I ask you a question? As a professional, you spend many hours talking to different clients, different people that you've had to work with. Is it regular, or is it very normal? The more you talk to them, the closer you're drawn to their inner thoughts, that the engagement grows and grows?
Oh, it definitely does.
What I'm trying to say is their stories, you get a greater range of stories because they feel more confident to open up. It's like a flower.
Yes. Yes. But that's the role of a counsellor too, you see, because, if you're trying to describe a counsellor, it's someone who's just listening, openly listening. And what you're doing is allowing somebody to just tell you what they're worried about, what they're thinking about, all sorts of things, but they can only do it when they trust you.
Yes,
so
yes.
It's something
it's cathartic.
that you build.
It's cathartic, isn't it?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And see, the sad reality is many older Australians don't, when you say to mum and dad, should we get you a counsellor? I go, oh no, because in their mind, you only have a counsellor if you're, mad or schizophrenic or, I can say back in my day, the same as them, we used to look at America, who always had their own therapist, and think, oh my God, why does everybody in America have a therapist? But really a therapist is a counsellor. And now we're seeing there is a need for them, but the older generation are very reluctant because they think that the family are considering them have a mental health issue if they need having a counsellor, which is not true at all. It's just someone to listen who's totally impartial.
So what we've done, we've created a stigma, haven't we, for the job that you do, which shouldn't be.
Yes.
Wow.
Very much.
Wow.
Yeah,
how much harder must it be if your first language is not English?
Oh, very much harder. That's exactly true. But I do know that during the time when I've been through training, and now I've had all sorts of younger people, there are younger people who have English as their second language, who are now available counsellors and wonderful counsellors. It's just breaking down that barrier of having a counsellor.
Jenny, if people wanted to reach out to you, wanted to know more, how do they go about it?
Well, I've got a website, and I think if you go to my website, all the information's there, my email, my phone, all about what I believe in, things that they can do to help themselves and each other. And my website is called Just Right Counsellor, right as my surname. So it's justrightcounsellor.com.au.
Fantastic. Just Right is spot on. We've appreciated this insight. We understand that you provide, I think, a fantastic service because, as we touched on earlier, it shouldn't be a stigma. It's an opportunity to cleanse, to get things out that don't readily come out. And it's like,
That's right.
it's like cleaning poison from a wound. It opens them up and gives them a chance to get better.
To heal.
And that's what we need. We need our older community to feel comfortable, to certainly in these trying times, to feel that, yes, someone's got their ear and you won't chew it off. And it's so exciting. So we wish you continued success with the Just Right platform.
Thank you.
And thank you for joining us on The Informer. Thank you, Jenny.
Thanks very much.